As it comes to the philosophy and system of combat, Bruce Lee was decades ahead of his time. To be sure, it's cliché, but the more we learn of him, the idea of the cliché is the only thing that seems to be superficial. He, the martial artist and pugilist, was very real. Less known is the philosophy behind the form. Most of us have heard his monologue about the water and the Taoistic approach that seemed to inform his life. As a man who was just in his 20s when he exploded onto public consciousness, not much real depth might be expected of him, but even here, he surprises us. The 60s were heady days in America, a period of great social shift, turbulence, and rebellion. While American bombs poured like rain in the East, karate, kung fu, and Eastern thought washed over onto American shores like goodie bags for the first time. Indian gurus gamboled around California like rock stars, and Zen Buddhism burst on the American landscape to an audience of eager students in search of psychedelics and higher selves. Bruce Lee was evidently not immune. He was a philosophy major in college, and his intimate knowledge of both Eastern and Western philosophy put him in a unique position to assimilate emerging syncretic ideas from East and West. In a recent newsletter sent out by the Bruce Lee Foundation, there is a photo of a page of Bruce Lee's handwritten notes as it pertains to his thinking on JKD and its relation to Zen Buddhism and spirituality generally. It is obvious that they are not idle thoughts or platitudes, but feelings emerging from a serious young man who thinks deeply about spiritual matters. Entitled Additional Notes on Jeet Kune Do, Bruce wrote, Jeet Kune Do is not a method of concentration or meditation. It is being. It is an experience, a way that is not a way. Jeet Kune Do seeks enlightenment, which results from resolution of all subject-object relationships and oppositions in a pure void that is not void. Enlightenment is not an experience or activity of a thinking and self-conscious subject. Jeet Kune Do is the awareness of pure being, beyond subject and object, an immediate grasp of being in its thusness and suchness, not particularized reality. Mind is an ultimate reality which is aware of itself and is not the seat of our empirical consciousness by being mind instead of having mind. No mind and no mind, no form and no form. Convergence with all that is. To think that this insight as a subjective experience attainable by some kind of process of mental purification is to doom oneself to error and absurdity, a form of mirror-wiping Zen. It would seem that for Bruce Lee, JKD was transcendent. It was not a form or a style. It was not even an idea. It was a state of pure being, beyond opposites, above subject-object, apart from discursive thinking, realized not through learning and effort, but naturally and spontaneously. In another conversation, Bruce Lee explains, I have not invented a new style, composite, modified or otherwise, that is set within distinct form as apart from this method or that method. On the contrary, I hope to free my followers from clinging to styles, patterns, or molds. Remember that Jeet Kune Do is merely a name used, a mirror in which to see ourselves. My movements are simple, direct, and non-classical. The extraordinary part of it lies in its simplicity. Every movement in Jeet Kune Do is being so of itself. There is nothing artificial about it. Finally, a Jeet Kune Do man who says Jeet Kune Do is exclusively Jeet Kune Do is simply not with it. He is still hung up on his self-closing resistance, in this case anchored down to reactionary pattern. He has not digested the simple fact that truth exists outside all molds. Pattern and awareness is never exclusive. By way of form, the inner self expresses itself, but Bruce admonishes no attachment to molds and patterns. Form is a mechanism, and to that extent, it should be genuine, honest, and consistent with what we are, who we are, right here, right now. There are no fixed patterns, but the fluidity is real. Truth can be expressed in limitless ways, but don't get hung up on the form. Style is just a means to express and manifest our truth. As it was for Bruce and his martial arts, we can apply the same principle to our everyday lives. Be sincere and honest. Express your inner truth and let the form take its shape naturally and spontaneously. Avoid rigidity. Do not become attached to the outer form of our lives. Look into the truth of what the apparent is trying to express. Truth and beauty lies not in the form, but the spirit underlying it. A smile, a nod, a look, a step, a gesture, a movement. It is not the form, but that which is behind it that is truly worthwhile, as long as it is authentic. Method and pattern are vehicles. What is it carrying?